What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with probably my last video for the MLB Trade Deadline. So today I'm going to announce the final 9 deals that went down in like the last hour or two today, and just kind of recap everything that's happened so that I don't have to do a separate recap video. So let's go ahead and talk about the first transaction. So Minnesota Twins get Pat Light from the Boston Red Sox in exchange for Fernando Abad. So really no big names going down there. Next one, the San Diego Padres get Colin from the Miami Marlins in exchange for Luis Castillo. I believe they just exchanged pitchers there, so yeah, nothing really too big there. Los Angeles Dodgers get Chavez from the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for Mike Bolsinger. Dodgers, very active team on this trade deadline between prospects and just players that will help them contend for a World Series immediately. They were very active today and yesterday. So next one, Houston Astros get Chavez from the Toronto Blue Jays in exchange for Scott Feldman. So Scott Feldman goes back to the state of Texas to pitch. Next one, Baltimore Orioles get Steve Pearce from the Rays. I don't think it's been announced if they have gotten anything in return yet, or if it was just like a dump. One of the things I noticed today was that while the Rays were a team that seemed like they would be one of the biggest sellers at the deadline, they kind of waited until the last second to dish out everyone. I'll talk more about that after I get done with the Matt Moore deal, talking about that in a little bit. But again, Pirates pick up a good acquisition. First base outfielder Steve Pearce was actually pretty big for the Rays this year. Next one, Ivan Nova goes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. So Pirates were able to make some moves today. Next one, the San Francisco Giants, another team that was very active over the last 2 days, get Matt Moore from the Rays for Michael Santos, Lucius Fox, and Matt Duffy. So at least the Rays get something decent in return for that. I really thought that there was going to be at least 1 or 2 Rays starting pitchers dealt today, and there was only 1, so that did kind of surprise me. But overall, not that big of a day for the Tampa Bay Rays. They kind of waited until the last second to, I think, do their 2 biggest deals of the trade deadline. So next one, and maybe the biggest deal of the day. The Texas Rangers acquire Jonathan Lucroy and Jeremy Jeffress from the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for Brinson and Luis Ortiz. Excuse me. So the Brewers do end up dumping off Jonathan Lucroy after he did not waive his no-trade clause to the Cleveland Indians. So kind of the Indians' misfortune is the Rangers' reward here, and Rangers get to pick up a solid catcher to make their push even harder for the playoffs inside the AL, not just the playoffs, the World Series. So, last deal to get to. Not that big a deal, but Pittsburgh Pirates get Antonio Bastardo from the New York Mets in exchange for Jonathan Niese. So I believe John Niese goes back to the New York Mets. So, recap everything. Some of the biggest deals that went down. And actually, I want to start by some of the guys that weren't traded, some of the guys that stayed put that kind of surprised me. Chris Archer being one. I really thought Chris Archer, Jake Odorizzi were, either one of them I really thought was going to be moved. Chris Sale, I'm very surprised was not moved. I was very surprised that didn't happen after his whole throwing a fit and everything. Yasiel Puig, I was kind of expecting to be moved, but it wasn't going to surprise me if he stayed, and he ended up staying. And then also, the name's slipping my mind right now. Oh, Shelby Miller from the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks held on to him. It seemed like they were definitely going to get rid of him after, maybe they didn't want to give up their investment so early after they put so much into him with Dansby Swanson. But who knows? He's been pretty miserable this season. So some of the biggest deals that went down, just in case you haven't been paying attention at all. Lucroy not going to the Indians was a big deal. So Orioles acquire Wade Miley. Let me just recap through right here. Tyler Clippard to the Yankees. Andrew Miller to the Cleveland Indians. That was a big one. Carlos Beltran to the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers had a lot of good acquisitions today. Will Smith to the San Francisco Giants. I kind of like the pickup by Andrew Sushak by the Milwaukee Brewers, though. They at least added a catcher when they lost one. Jay Bruce to the New York Mets. Josh Reddick and Rich Hill to the LA Dodgers. Brandon Guyer to the Cleveland Indians. They can add some outfield depth with that. And that pretty much was it from previous to this last little build-up. You know, this was a very active trade deadline, but this was one that, you know, I really haven't paid attention this closely to a trade deadline, but maybe besides last year. This one really felt like it went to the last second, and yeah, we'll see how these moves have an effect. Like I said, a few guys that I expected to be moved that ended up not being moved. Again, most notably Chris Sale, but maybe it might work out for the Sox in the long haul. We'll see. So that'll pretty much do it for this video. A couple other things, go check out my website. The link to that will be in the description below. Go follow me on Twitter. The link to that will be in the description below. I tweet sports fire all the time. So, also give me a follow on Instagram. But anyway, that's pretty much it. See ya.